Hey, so, um, today, I'm gonna talk a little bit about, diagnosis, specifically, my diagnosis, and I've been diagnosed with a lot of things over the years, and, I've been diagnosed with bipolar several times, but, my, definitive diagnosis when I was 17 or 18 was the important one, and I'll talk about um, the what led up to that and why the doctors made that diagnosis and the steps they took to treat me following that diagnosis. So, leading up to the diagnosis, I was in high school. I was having a lot of trouble academically, mostly because uh, I really couldn't. I didn't give two shits about school. I was very. I was acting out, I spent a lot of time cutting class. Um, when I was present in class, I was not really present. I was uh, spaced out or sometimes actually asleep or just drawing pictures or reading or whatever. We didn't have, cell phones or stuff like that really yet, but I mean, yeah, we had cell phones, but not the way you do now. So that wasn't exactly a distraction, but there are other things. I mostly just didn't go to class. When I went, I just didn't pay attention, and I was very irascible and rude and um, aggressive, even, and pugnacious, and uh, I just gave off a sort of aura of, don't talk to me, I don't like you. Um, I just made sure everybody knew I was misanthropic and angry and, ready to explode, basically. Um, but the truth of it is, I was suffering. I was, either depressed, and I didn't really understand what was going on. I knew I was really unhappy a lot of the time, um, and I didn't know why. Uh, I thought I felt really alone. And then sometimes I knew I felt really strange. Um, and that, of course, was the hypomania or mania uh, kicking in. The feeling of, incredible energy and, superpowers and uh, weird, weird thoughts and uh, beliefs, like thinking I thinking I have godlike powers or abilities or um, I'm an unstoppable force or everybody has to bow down to me or and these thoughts and feelings would come and go, and I really didn't understand them, and I was sort of really ashamed of all this stuff going on. At the same time, I was really afraid to tell anyone. And then on the other hand, I couldn't really keep it hidden anymore. It was overflowing to a point where it just was not able to stay under wraps. It, it was really getting out of control, and uh, I was just sort of spiraling, and I started using drugs to sort of self-medicate. I started seeing a psychiatrist. My parents saw sort of what was going on, but they had no idea that it was just the tip of the iceberg. And unfortunately, I sort of got hooked up with the wrong psychiatrist. Um, two bad psychiatrists, and they both of them wrongly diagnosed me. As one of them said I had a depression and ADD, and put me on Prozac and Ritalin, which didn't help. Um, the second one said it could be bipolar, and I probably, well, it didn't matter anyway. They kept giving me more and more antidepressants and stimulants and uh, sleep meds and stuff I could abuse or trade, and the antidepressants just made me more manic. And then they would give me things like once they realized I might be bipolar, they started giving me mood stabilizers like Depakote or lithium, and I realized, wait, I don't want to take this shit. It makes me feel like I've those like bubble wrap in my brain, and I'm missing out on my endogenous highs here. I want to feel all amped up, and you're taking me away from that. This is what makes me me. This is what makes me special. So I would, cheek the meds and or sell them to clueless idiots who thought they were worth something. And instead, I'd take illegal drugs that just made the symptoms worse. And finally, things got worse and worse and worse, and then I think I was just started senior year, 17 years old, and I had a psychotic episode, and I had just read Ghost in the Shell, the book. I forget who wrote it. It doesn't matter. I'll look it up later. But if you haven't read it, it's a book about artificial intelligence, cyborgs, and I, in my psychosis, I got this delusion that I was a cyborg, and I was convinced of this, and what the fuck? Oh, sorry, it's just my computer. I was so convinced that I started to go kind of nuts, like being not sure, like how to tell if I was really human or not. That's my barking clock. I'm sorry about that. It doesn't sound like it's barking. It sounds like crying, but and finally I realized the only way, and if you're somebody who is sensitive to, graphic imagery or anything like that, stop watching right now because this is violent. Anyway, I realized that the only way for me to know for sure would be to see what my bones are made of. So I got a knife and I opened my arm up, and to the tune of 80 plus sutures, I wanted to see if my bones were made of bone or some sort of synthetic, I don't know, special polymer or something. As it turns out, they were indeed bone. So I went to a psychiatric hospital for a few weeks. I got a definite diagnosis of bipolar 1. I got a new psychiatrist. I got a whole bunch of new meds, including lithium, Depakote, Zyprexa. I don't remember whether I was taking a benzo back then. Probably not. Really don't remember. Doesn't matter. No antidepressant because they didn't want to start me cycling. I don't remember whether there was anything else. But that was, oh, I know. I was also on, I can think of the generic name, but, Cogentin. Because, when I was in the psych hospital, they gave me, all these old school antipsychotics like Haldol and Trilofan, and I had a whole bunch of Parkinsonian movement disorder type reactions, extrapyramidal shit. So the Cogentin, I had to take that for months afterwards because I had like cogwheel rigidity, torticollis. Look it up. It's hard to explain, but it's very uncomfortable and side effect. But that was just sort of the beginning. And unfortunately, I mean, like you'd think, like the diagnosis is like the climax of the story, but really it's just kind of the prologue, you know. Unfortunately, this, or even the book cover, title of the book. A lot more happened after that, and just wasn't exactly an uphill trip. Anyway, so that's how I was diagnosed. Sorry if that was a little grim, but there it is.